listening to the Terrific Teacherpreneur, a podcast for teachers looking to grow a successful online business. Your host, Alex, was able to transform her Teachers Pay Teachers store from a small side hustle into a profitable full-time business. She now helps other teachers do the same. Listen along for actionable tips and helpful wisdom about business and marketing as a teacherpreneur. Here's your host, Alex.
Hello and welcome to the Terrific Teacherpreneur podcast. Now, recently, Rebecca and I, another seller, organized a survey about TPT seller earnings. Definitely check out the episode if you haven't already. I will put a link in the show notes. What sellers earn. It's the 2025 version because we did this survey a few years ago. So we did a new version recently. And in the episode, I was talking about some of the takeaways from the survey, some of the things I noticed with the data and things that stood out to me. And I was saying, oh my goodness, these people that are earning like 10, 20K a month are doing some interesting things I wasn't expecting. There's a lot of product creation, which maybe you wouldn't expect for really veteran sellers. That was like their focus. There was a lot of people saying they, did next to no marketing. I was like, what? Where are you spending your time? What are you doing? Like, message me, tell me, I'm dying to know. So I said that in the episode. And I actually did get a message from someone, which was awesome. And they said they were very happy for me to share a couple of takeaways from them, like just some kind of, insider scoop information of what they think has helped. Anyway, I'm going to share some tips from them. And so this is someone who is a top 100 seller. Okay, very, very cool. So they said this to me. They said, I have always done things my own way. I never jump on trends or do things just because everyone else is doing them. My covers stand out as mine. They don't look like cookie cutters of everyone else's. And I focus on what is currently working for me and double down on it. So I'm going to stop in between the things that they said and, elaborate a little bit on what, whether I agree with that and like the thoughts I have. And definitely something that really stood out to me was the mention of covers. This is something that's like a real like sore spot for me because I have put a lot of, time and energy into helping sellers. And one of the ways it does come back to it's like a big slap in the face is when you're offering all this advice to help people and then like you get punished for it because they copy you. And it's super lame when I'm doing research on TPT, like in incognito mode, like checking some keywords that I could do for my updates. And my eye gets drawn to a cover. I'm like, oh, that's my product. Like, no, it's not. It's not my product. It's just someone that's copied me. And so there's a lot of people that have copied the way that I style my TPT covers, things like that. It's really annoying, but I don't spend a lot of time dwelling on it. Like I can't control that. But I do like what this person's saying, and it's that, cookie cutter, it's harsh, but it's true. Like if you're going to look like everyone else, you're not going to stand out and grow. So if you're listening to this and you're someone that has kind of been inspired by other people's style of TPT covers, this might be a little bit of a wake-up call that, you need to find your own unique way of doing things, your own unique brand, your own way to stand out, because TPT is really saturated. It is quite competitive. I think I'm okay with admitting that. I'm a realist, and I think that there's a lot of products that are in certain niches and certain search terms where you're really competing with a lot of people. And I think if you're going to look like everyone else, it's very hard to stand out and make sales. So it's a little bit of a harsh truth, I think, that has to be shared. And I really, really agree with her on that one. Okay, so the next one she said was just, I've only ever run 3 ads. So this is not someone spending a lot of, huge amount of time and money on marketing that's paid. So something to know. I think it's nice to know these things because you can go, oh, okay, I don't actually have to, sink loads of money into ads in order to be successful. So that was really cool. She did say that she has Instagram, but gets almost 0 sales from it. So she kind of keeps it up for collaborating with other people, building connections, that kind of thing. But she's not really able to compete with other people because she doesn't really put her face on there. So and that's one of the things I've often said about Instagram. So, and this is not true for everyone, I don't like to make blanket statements, but for the most part, people that find really huge success on Instagram and then actually have that translate to sales and stuff tend to have accounts where, maybe they're in the classroom and they're on stories every day and they're showing reels and they're showing their face. And people don't like to acknowledge this, but this is something I often talk about. There is a certain, I don't know, it's hard to say, but honestly, a lot of the time it's like young, pretty people. And that's the reality of it. Like I follow a few people that are like insanely successful. And the truth is they are glamorous. They look after their appearance. They're really, fabulous looking, and yeah, like they're young, beautiful people. And that's always the struggle I felt with social media is I feel like I wake up on the day to day, maybe I feel like I might want to post on there, but I haven't got any makeup on. I'm wearing like baggy t-shirt because I'm in my mum era at the moment. I'm living in like t-shirts and my hair's like all greasy and gross. And I just feel like I don't feel ready to go on camera. And I know that there are some people that would disagree with that. They would say, who cares? Just do it, blah, blah, blah. But I think I know the reality. And the reality is that a lot of social media is a highlight reel of showing your most glamorous self, your glamorous classroom, your glamorous resources. Everything's like the best of the best. And a lot of those people that have that success are showing things that look pretty. It's not that different to Pinterest, really. Everything on the internet, whether it's a Pinterest pin or an Instagram or TikTok video, or whatever, it's all just things looking pretty. That's the truth of it. Like beautiful photos, lovely videos, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's what makes it hard is, if you're anonymous or if you feel that you don't feel like you look glamorous enough, or you're not like this like young hip teacher, you don't understand the reels and the trends and all that, or you're not in the classroom anymore. Like there's so many barriers to entry in social media, and I feel like it can be really hard. And that's why I'm not a huge advocate for everybody should have an Instagram and post on that every day, because it just doesn't work for everyone. And I think that's okay to admit. I don't know if people like to hear that. There are always a handful of people that are really passionate about social media that probably just think I'm being negative, but I'm hoping some of you can relate to what I've just said, because sometimes I feel like that's the thing that's hard for me. And I don't know if that is reassuring as well, because you might see me on social media and think, oh, hey, what are you complaining about? Like, you're not, I don't know. I often put things up, and like when I do have makeup and stuff on, so I probably sometimes do look glamorous. That's like, not my day to day, what I really feel like I actually look like on the day to day. So I'm not able to be on there as much as I want to, because I feel this pressure. Anyway, that's just probably one of the hardest things about being a woman. Anyway, I won't ramble on that for too long, but I could relate to that a lot when she said that. And the little takeaway here, I think, would be, okay, interesting. You don't actually have to have this big thriving social media if you want to be successful in TPT, earning the big money, ranking like as a high ranking seller. You don't have to have a massive Instagram. So that's reassuring to hear. So glad she shared that. And it just kind of confirms what I've always suspected, which is like, yeah, a lot of people are not making money on social media. She says she just doesn't make money. I know that I didn't make a lot of money when I was posting my resources. I've had a lot more success on my TPT seller account, but yeah, a lot of people just don't have success with it. The survey actually highlighted something that I've always known, which is that, yeah, Pinterest and email are much more popular, successful platforms for sellers. So that's really interesting. I liked having that validation. And I know that I don't care if that makes me sound annoying. I know people think, oh, all she talks about is Pinterest and email marketing. But it's not just, oh, me talking about something that works for me. Oh, Pinterest happens to work for me. Oh, no, I've done many polls over the years in my Facebook group, and I've asked people over and over and over again, what platforms are you using? And it was always consistently coming back. Like Pinterest was always the winner. People doing a bit of like Pinterest or blogging always came up as the top result, and email pretty strongly either second place or first. And yeah, there was not this resounding, oh my goodness, everybody's on TikTok. And I've not just talking about my own experience, I have ask people, but to do this really big survey with nearly 1,000 people and to get that more officially shared was nice. It was really validating for me, because then it kind of, I feel like I can share things, and that doesn't always land well with some people. I could say, hey, look, Pinterest is a popular platform, everyone's using it, and there'll always be someone that kind of comments and goes, oh, Pinterest is not great. They get like upset. They don't like Pinterest themselves, and that's fine, but it's nice to know what is actually realistically common among other sellers, not just what one person's using, or you or me or whatever, but like everybody. And that survey information I think is helpful, because it tells you what's successful, because people don't stick with the things that aren't working. They might try TikTok for a few months. It feels like a lot of work posting all these videos, and then doesn't make many money, and then they ditch it. But they stick with their email list because that brings money, for example. So that, I think that information was golden, and I think it's really, really helpful to know what the good platforms are. What are other people using? There's a reason people are using it. It's because it's obviously more profitable. So yeah, I feel really strongly about that, and I'm glad the data supported that, because it's like, sometimes you feel like you're just kind of like shouting it out to people and they're not really listening. But it's nice to confirm and say, hey, look, I was saying that, and it's right, it's true. You need to spend your time on the platforms that are actually profitable. There's always exceptions to the rule, okay? There's people that are maybe a high school seller and Pinterest doesn't work for them, and that's fine. but you've got to try things for yourself. That's totally okay. But yeah, I think it's just important to, look at what is actually working for people. And yeah, people before you've done stuff, they've tried stuff. It's good to know. I think it's really helpful. Anyway, I am going on a lot of tangents here. I'm sorry. Okay, so the next thing she said, I have put a lot of effort into my blog. I get a lot of traffic from it. She actually hired an SEO specialist, she said, outside of the TPT world to teach her tricks for optimizing, things like that. So she said, I have a lot of posts already up. I sort of post kind of on a monthly basis and I go back and update past posts. I honestly think the power of the blog is underrated. She actually then went on to say, I have Pinterest, but she rarely uses it. And that's fine because, like I said, it's not for everyone. Sometimes the ROI isn't there for everyone, but for blogging, for her, really, really works. Interestingly, that she doesn't really use Pinterest because Pinterest and blog tend to go hand in hand, but you can still have a successful blog without Pinterest if you're using your email list or your social media to drive traffic there, or like I said, like she says, if you're really great at SEO or you're hiring someone and you kind of have it really well optimized, then you can just get your own traffic from Google and stuff. So love that she shared blogging was working for her because blogging is huge for me and it really drives a lot of traffic to my store. Like, when I'm going to my traffic section on TPT, it's just non-stop traffic from my blog. For me, they actually come from Pinterest first. It's like a bit of a funnel, but yeah, the blogging is the way to go. I really do think I agree with her. It's underrated. It's like people think that it's old and dead and outdated and TikTok's the new thing, but when you actually look at the data of like what sellers are using, what they're making money from, it's clear they're using things like their blog. And like the survey showed, people were not using or making a lot of money from things like TikTok. So that was really interesting. There's always exceptions to the rule, though, of course, but yeah, very interesting. So then she went on to say the email marketing is lovely, quote unquote, which I thought was interesting. I email my list consistently. I've worked hard to build it in a multitude of different ways. It has not been converting as well lately, but the lower sales can often be a lot to do with the economy and the state of our world and teachers simply not having funds right now. Also things like AI, district expanding TPT. So hopefully, sales will pick up when the economy settles down, something that I agree with as well. But yeah, she does have email marketing, just like many sellers do that are really established. I'm not saying, every single seller earning huge amounts of money or every seller ranking high or every veteran seller has an email list. I'm not going to make that sweeping generalization, but the majority do. It's like once you become really established, that tends to be the thing you lean towards because you own your list and, it's yours. You're not fighting with an algorithm. So a lot of people kind of tend to eventually get drawn to that. Let's move on to where she says she spends her time. I thought this was really helpful. So she works about 20 to 25 hours a week. So cool to know. She's full-time TPT, but she's not putting in like 40 hours, which is something I never did either when I was doing it in a more full-time way before I had kids. I think you can totally run a TPT business in that part-time kind of sense, whether it's 10, 15, 20, 25 hours. A lot of people make those different numbers work. She says she'll sometimes work more when she's excited about something. And so, yeah, basically she said, I do not have any VAs. She has hired out photography a few times, but that's it. It's a little like me, actually. I've hired things here and there, but I don't constantly have this big team with me all the time. And the survey showed that as well. It did seem to say that, yeah, about half of the people that were doing really well, like these 20K a month type people, were doing it all on their own. Fascinating, because I think there's that misconception that everybody that's successful has this big team of people. Apparently not. You can totally do this on your own. That's a takeaway to hear, to focus on. Oh, I can do this even if I don't have the funds to hire someone. I can do this even if I don't want to hire someone. Very cool. She said that she has taken some courses, but not any really expensive ones. But she was pretty established in the TPT land by the time courses started coming around, which makes sense. When courses kind of became a thing, which is actually really only in the last half a decade, if you'd already been selling a long time, then you don't need to join like a beginner TPT course. So that makes sense. So she said, my biggest advice for people choosing to take a course is to make sure the person selling the course is actually credible and has success on the platform themselves. And I strongly agree with that, because I won't dive into this too much, but yeah, you want to make sure that that person is actually knows what they're talking about in terms of TPT and stuff. I like to keep a real balance in my business between working on my store and helping sellers. And I spend the majority of my time actually on my store, because I feel like you shouldn't really be giving tips about TPT if you're not actually doing TPT. So totally agree with that one. One thing in general, I think with anything you want to invest in, like with courses and stuff, coaching programs and things, is you have to sort of have that know, like, trust factor with the creator. It's all good and well to like read a Facebook post where someone says, oh my goodness, I did this and I loved it. But some people are affiliates. They'll be in these groups just constantly sharing their affiliate links and stuff. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they've actually really truly had a lot of success with it. They could just be hoping to share their affiliate link. So it's great to have that social proof. You do want to hear what people have to say, but you should really like and trust that person. You know who they are, you know that you like their content style, the way they deliver content, the types of tips they share, and then you can pay to work with that person. It's actually no different to TPT. The way a teacher might grab a freebie, oh, this looks great, the quality's great, and then they go and buy the paid resource from you. Like, it's no different really. It's something you might want to do as a seller is check out the person, make sure that you really like them and that they're actually currently, selling on TPT and doing well. And then you want to go and do a paid offering with them. Totally agree. That's great advice. And she said there's a lot of free resources out there too. So don't feel like, you have to take a course if you're not ready and you don't afford it. I totally feel that way too. So she said, don't lose your own branding and creative spark. A lot of newer sellers take a course and emulate the style of the course creator, which is what we talked about at the beginning. And I could not agree more. I won't go on and on about it anymore. But yes, that is one of the hardest things for me as a course creator. People kind of emulating what you do, and people have even copied my actual products. It's frustrating, but I won't go into it anymore. You want to make sure you have that individuality. If you're going to have a thriving business, I think you have to have an edge. You have to be different. It's just really, really important. She said, I actually wish I'd left the classroom to focus on TPT much sooner. Imposter syndrome held me back a lot, which is a shame, but I think that happens to a lot of people. You get a bit anxious about, like, can I really do this? But yeah, there are a lot of people that have. Maybe you could do it as well. A key growth strategy for me, she said, has been the consistent creation of new resources. I have over 1,000 products in my store right now. I think it's important to keep bringing out new things for your followers and email list subscribers. They follow you for a reason. That was really cool because that's the thing that the survey had shown as well with the data. It said, okay, people cited consistently releasing new products as one of their big growth factors. And then a lot of the really successful, like 20K month sellers had 600 plus products in their store. So definitely, I talked about this already in the episode where I was talking about the survey, but yeah, I was like blown away by that because I really thought product creation was a lot more common with newer, smaller sellers. And then as you're selling, as you're a veteran seller, you've been selling for like a decade, then you just naturally start marketing more. But no, it was the opposite. People that had success were consistently creating new stuff. And I already talked about this, like I said, in the other episode, but I think you're just replacing your old bestsellers that die. You're having more opportunities to meet buyer needs. You're trying new things all the time. You're figuring out your niche. You're just, yeah. And then her adding to it here was great when she's saying, your TPT followers and your email and subscribers are going to see that new stuff. So if you're releasing things all the time, you are more likely, I guess, to keep growing. I love that. I messaged her with a few follow-up questions and she said that bundling definitely helped her. She tries to, if she's going to make a resource, she'll try to make 2 related ones to go along with it and bundle them all together. She actually said that a lot of her really expensive stuff doesn't sell that well. So things that like priced over $20 or big $100 bundles, $200 bundles don't actually sell that often. So she's making money from cheaper things, but she didn't elaborate on this, but I assume she doesn't mean like a $1 stuff. I think she's just saying, I think there's a good middle ground here. If everything's at $1 in your store, you're not going to make a lot of money. But if everything's like $50, it's good to have that middle ground. And I think there's a real sweet spot where you can make some really great money in the $5 to $10 and the $10, $20 kind of range. So I also asked her about how she spends her time. And she said when she first started, she tried to have a real strict kind of routine and plan. But then she felt that she was kind of like when she was in the classroom, stuck with a schedule. She said, now I keep a list of ideas in Trello. I'll jot down must-dos, but for the most part, I work on what I want to work on it when I want to. And her main things each week, she emails her list. And every couple of months, she'll spend a few days batching things for social media. And she kind of batches things as much as possible so that she's got a lot of freedom, obviously, for her product creation. And she said the majority of my time is spent on product creation. She does product updates too, because I followed up by asking about that as well. I said, because I was obviously dying to know, I was like, do you spend a lot of time trying to get your, worst sellers and stuff to sell? Are you doing a lot of optimizing? And she said, I definitely use data to drive my decisions. However, I like to take risks. If I have an idea, sometimes I'll just make it because I want to. And sometimes they flop, but sometimes they take off. And if it flops on the marketplace, maybe because it's oversaturated or not being something people were looking for, I can always use it as a freebie for my list. So there's no losses, only lessons. Love that. That's a really, really great little quote, I think. And she said optimization is important, but there's only so much you can do. Sometimes it isn't going to do well. A product is not going to show up higher in search no matter how much you do. Sometimes things just need time. She said, for example, I made some Veteran Day resources last year that didn't do well, and this year they've started to take off. So then she went on to say, your listener followers who are loyal to you have already looked through your shop and bought stuff. They want to see new stuff. And this is where it really got good. She said, Target doesn't stop bringing out new collections to focus on the old stuff selling better. I was like, oh, wow, so true. I don't spend a ton of time on my worst sellers, she said. I update them, make sure they're optimized, and randomly send to my list or post on social media sometimes. For the most part, I let them go and move on. Even if they only make a small amount each year, it's all something. I'd rather focus on new stuff. Awesome. If you're listening to this, thank you so much. I will just say now, by the way, that this person did request to be anonymous, which, of course, I'm sure you could totally understand. I mean, hearing the story I've just mentioned about people copying you and stuff, I wanted to respect her wishes 100% because she's doing a really nice thing here by sharing that wisdom. And it's not fair on her to have people, looking up who she is and that kind of thing. So yeah, she wants to be anonymous. That's totally fair enough. But like I said, she was willing to say she's a top 100 seller. So she's making some serious money. She's doing really, really well. Very, very happy for her. Very proud of what she's doing. That's awesome. And like I said, if you're listening, thank you so much for that. But anyway, for the rest of you, I really, really hope that has helped. I think it's really nice. I used to have a lot of guests on the podcast, so you would get these kind of tips and information from other people, and you wouldn't just hear me going on and on all the time. But since I've had kids, honestly, it's so difficult for me to be able to organize and schedule these kind of things. So it's been a lot of solo episodes. And so this is my little middle ground way of being able to share someone else's wisdom, but in a way that's manageable for me. And I hope that it was okay. And yeah, I think she shared some amazing stuff, amazing tips. There's a couple of really good golden nuggets in there. That thing about Target, it sat with me because then when I finished talking to her, I was like, she's so right. I was thinking about the Australian version here in Australia. We do have a Target, but the big place I go a lot is our Kmart. I don't know if you guys in the US even have Kmarts anymore, if that's a thing over there. But I was like, how often are they constantly releasing new stuff? I buy a lot of toys there for my kids and the clothes and stuff. And it's yeah, they do have some things that they just keep around, but they are constantly bringing out new ranges of things because they want to find their new thing that's going to make the money that people are going to like. And they constantly want to go along with what people are into right now. People's trends and needs change over time, and TPT is no different. What people were searched for in 2015, 2016, when I first started, what they were looking for back then, very different a decade later. So, resources I make now are probably very different to what I made back then. What people need now is different. I think, yeah, I've had a eye-opening kind of couple of weeks, honestly, with this survey and realizing that product creation is really, really important. Yeah. I feel like I've sometimes throughout my episodes in the past, I've downplayed it a bit and said, it's great for new sellers, but, I've always sort of had that view of new sellers. Yeah, great products, keep going, don't market. As you become more seasoned, so you can scale back on the product creation, maybe do a bit more optimizing. And that's true too, but there is some truth in that, creating more products is a great idea. I think though what happens is it benefits a lot of more seasoned sellers because you've figured out your niche, you've learned how to create great resources, you've got the data to help you make decisions. When you first make your first 100 and you feel like, why is this not making me any money even though I've got 100 resources? Well, that first 100 is a lot of the first time you're making pancakes, and you make the first pancake and it's just terrible, and then you kind of get better as you go along. And so by your 500th resource, things are definitely very different, I'm sure. Anyway, really, really hope this has helped. Definitely very helpful to me. And I hope that you have a terrific day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Terrific Teacherpreneur. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate that effort. Come back for more actionable tips and helpful wisdom in the next episode with your host, Alex. Until then.